When you look out for somebody, it's always nice when they repay the favor. And it seems like that's exactly what happened with the Baltimore Ravens and Ronnie Stanley, especially with his latest deal, that 3-year, $60 million deal with $44 million guaranteed. And initially when he signed that deal, I'm like, oof, Ravens, y'all paid some bread for Ronnie Stanley, ain't you? But then when we looked across the league, we said, hold up. Ravens actually, them getting ahead of the market, they were able to get Ronnie Stanley for, might I say cheap? I can't say cheap because ain't no $60 million deal cheap, $20 million per, but compared to a lot of what these free agent tackles and offensive linemen were getting, yeah, Ronnie Stanley's deal ended up being a steal. And we're going to talk about that shortly and everything that he did for the Baltimore Ravens, but also everything that they did for him. Before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications on so you don't miss a single update on our Baltimore Ravens, and leave a like on the video. Team, keep it clean. Y'all already know. Y'all are the best. So, Ronnie Stanley, he had a Zoom call yesterday because he said, hey, Ravens, y'all not about to mess up my vacation. Yeah, I still got to show up to work for y'all. I'm going to do 20 minutes real quick. We'll talk real quick, talk about the contract and all that, why I want to stay with the Baltimore Ravens, why I remain with the Baltimore Ravens, and then I'm getting back to vacay. So, I respected Ronnie Stanley. Anyway, one of the things that he talked about was how he felt about the Baltimore Ravens. Said they got a lot of unfinished business, said they still got the Super Bowl on their mind, said over the past couple of years, we done broke so many records, and he still wanted to continue to be a part of that. He said, we broken so many records the last however many years, I don't think we really care about it, to be honest. The only thing we really cared about is winning the Super Bowl. All that other stuff is nice, but yeah, definitely unfinished business. That's the direct quote from Mr. Ronnie Stanley on one of the reasons why he remained with the Baltimore Ravens. But again, like we talked about earlier, his contract, it ended up being a bargain, so to speak. And that's the exact word that Ronnie Stanley used when describing his contract with the Baltimore Ravens. He said, I was going to give Baltimore the best bargain that I would offer to any other team. That being said, I wanted to be happy with what I'm making and make sure I'm getting the value that I deserve. So he said with Baltimore, he said they gave him a chance back in 2016. He was a first-round draft pick, number 6 overall, I believe, from Notre Dame. And he was supposed to be the left tackle of the future. And that he was all up until 2020. And 2020 was the year where everything changed for Ronnie Stanley in the worst way. He was not even a full week off of his brand new contract extension. Ronnie Stanley got paid their bread. And then I think maybe 5 or maybe 6 days at the most later, we're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, and TJ Watt ended up hitting Ronnie Stanley the wrong way, and that altered his career in the worst way. And things had never been the same since. He tried to rehab, then tried to come back, didn't work. Tried to rehab some more, didn't work. Did surgery, and he could not play. Nothing was going right for Ronnie Stanley. But I tell you one thing, he was still under contract with them Baltimore Ravens. And he still continued to get paid by them Baltimore Ravens. And they ain't try to cut him and recoup some of the money due to his injury. No, he continued to get paid. And I know for the Ravens, it would be easier said than done to get out and from under that contract. But still, but they were trying. Both sides were trying. Ronnie Stanley was trying to come back. Ravens were trying to make it work, but it just was not working. But then finally, last offseason, the Baltimore Ravens and Ronnie Stanley, they came to a contract agreement. It was not just a restructure. See, because a lot of people, when they see the word restructure, they think, oh, pay cut. No. A restructure for a player is when money gets moved around, and they usually get a lot more money up front, but they don't lose any money in the restructure. But Ronnie Stanley not only restructured, but he took a pay cut as well. Because this last season, they redid his contract to where they removed the last 2 years from his contract. So after last season, then he will become a free agent, which was this offseason that we in right now. So they say, all right, Ronnie Stanley, show us what's up. Prove yourself to us. And Ronnie Stanley, he did just that, because he took a pay cut and ended up like, all right, you know what? Like Jeff Zrebiec, he said in his article on The Athletic, Ronnie Stanley, he bet on himself, because he certainly did. And him betting on himself ended up paying off in a major way. Because heading into this last season, we knew Ronnie Stanley was going to be a free agent at the end of the season. And I was thinking, there's no way that Ronnie Stanley gets a significant third contract. Ronnie Stanley getting up there in age, his injury history and whatnot. Yeah, he played good this year, but and I ended up being completely wrong, all the way wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong than I was. With Ronnie Stanley, I remember years ago, I would continue to talk about, like, look, Ronnie Stanley, great as he is, the Baltimore Ravens need to think about life after Ronnie Stanley. They need to, because they've gotten a glimpse of what life is like without Ronnie Stanley because he had missed so many games. So the Baltimore Ravens, they need to start looking for a left tackle to replace Ronnie Stanley because we know how he is with his injury history. Ronnie Stanley said, all right, that's cool. I know what I've been through. I know what's done happened with me and these Baltimore Ravens in my career thus far, especially after 2020, but I ain't going out like that. And again, last year was huge for Ronnie Stanley in a major way because, again, he played in all 17 regular season games. He played in both playoff games. I wish it would have been in even more playoff games, but again, it is what it is. And then, again, he bet on himself, and he was getting ready to hit free agency, and there were apparently deals from the Patriots that he could have got, from the Chiefs that he could have got, and then from a few other teams as well. But the Ravens, them and Ronnie Stanley, they didn't even let him sniff free agency. And it's something that we talked about a little before free agency officially started. It said if Ronnie Stanley even gets a small taste of free agency, with the money that they're going to be able to give him, Ravens ain't going to be able to top it. They can't. They won't be able to. They really won't. But with them getting ahead of it, Ronnie said, he gave him a little deal too now. He gave him a deal. He worked with him. Because he could have got more. He could have got more. He could have got a whole lot more money out in free agency. And he could have really just tried to get even more from the Ravens. And couldn't be mad at it, too, because it's business. It's business. Ain't no pity party in business, especially when it comes to contracts like this. Like, these players are trying to get paid, and these companies, these businesses, these franchises, these teams, they trying to keep the players, but they don't want to pay them as much as the player can possibly get. So that's where negotiations come into play. But Ronnie Stanley, he chose to go on the side, I can't say just on the side of loyalty to the Ravens, but because it's a mix of loyalty. But he also said, hey, I'm loyal, but you still going to pay me what I feel I can be happy with and my worth. So it's almost just the best of both worlds. So yes, Ronnie Stanley, he did look out for the Ravens because a lot of teams, a lot of franchises were looking at him like he wasn't only the best left tackle that was going to hit free agency, but maybe even the best free agent to hit free agency. But the Baltimore Ravens and Ronnie Stanley, they did not let that happen. And we are glad. So looking forward to this season, looking forward to this upcoming year with Ronnie Stanley. He also talked about Andrew Voorhees and how smart of a player Andrew Voorhees is, and that he is going to be really, really good. Is that Ronnie Stanley giving his personal endorsement for who he wants at left guard right next to him? It could be, but we'll see. So now we reach my favorite part of these videos where we get to feature your questions. If you would like to take part in it, you can send an email to teamkeepitclean@gmail.com, or for the Team Keep It Clean patrons, you can send your question in a DM directly on Patreon. And if you would like to become one, you can go to patreon.com/Ingravenvids. Team Keep It Clean. Before we get into these questions, I got to say I really, really appreciate y'all. I seriously do. I appreciate the way that y'all support. I appreciate y'all showing love. I appreciate y'all sending questions. I appreciate y'all in the comment section. I appreciate y'all leaving likes on the video. I appreciate everything that y'all do. Everything. It does not go unnoticed. I see it every single day, and I appreciate it every single day. I really do love y'all and thank y'all for everything that you do on a daily basis. So, first question came from my guy, Will. He said, midway through your Mark Andrews video, I realized when you reminded me saying how Lamar had his MV3 taken from him. I just noticed it happened in the same year as Mahomes lost what could have been his third Super Bowl. Instead of everyone focusing on Mahomes' loss, everyone is still targeting the Ravens. Well, that's just what the hot topic was at that point. I mean, obviously the Super Bowl trumps the MVP, by far, because the Super Bowl is a Super Bowl, and a lot of people were talking about that too. Because a lot of people think, "Oh, is Mahomes or the Chiefs and Mahomes gonna get the three in a row?" Because that was the talk, but way before MVP talks even started. That was the talk from way at the beginning of the season. Because the Chiefs had just won the last 2 Super Bowls, so people were like, "Oh, can they three-peat? Can they win 3 in a row? Oh my goodness, it's never been done before. Oh, this is history." And I was just like, "Oh, please don't let it happen." But with the MVP talks, that's what got hot at the end of the season, because MVP is what a lot of people are thinking of at the end of the season, and Lamar was obviously in those talks, but we know what happened. So people were talking about the Ravens, but they were also definitely talking about the Chiefs too. I don't think this was a Ravens being targeted at all. It was just what it was. He said, but regardless, like Lamar, Henry, and now D-Hop, let's run it back. Keep up the excellent work, and team, keep it clean. Appreciate you, Will. Next question came from my guy LaMarion, and I love that name, by the way. He said, what's up, Ingraven? I'm just sitting here at my desk watching one of your videos when I see a Tylan Wallace interview. This has got me thinking. I see Tylan Wallace kind of like Jackson Smith and the Jigba. Even though we haven't really seen them contested catches from Tylan, but we've seen catches, though I feel Tylan Wallace is underrated. But what interests me the most, I think, the second Bengals game of the season, I believe 3 catches, 115 yards. Now, if you are doing that, you have to have some great run after catch abilities. I know Zay does, but he get more targets and catches. But this kind of amazed me. He has some great speed and hands, but don't let him have all purple on and be on the left sideline running them routes. He'll run past the defense. I hope that you and the family are doing well. And just like Tylan running away from the defenders in the 2025 and 26 season, I'm out. Yeah, shout out to Tylan Wallace. Tylan Wallace, again, the definition of clutch, the definition of reliable, the definition of he is right there when you need him. I was talking to my guy Nitro yesterday. We were talking about that Ravens and Bills game. So I was looking for a particular play that we were talking about. And while I was looking for that play, I'm like, hold up. Tylan Wallace, like, on that last drive, he made a clutch catch. Tylan Wallace, number 16. He made a clutch catch for the Ravens. And that's something that we talked about. We said that it might sound like a hot take or a wild take that Tylan Wallace, he may have the best hands on the team. And I know it's tough to say that because he doesn't get as many opportunities as a Zay Flowers, as a Rashad Bateman, as a Mark Andrews, as an Isaiah Likely. He doesn't get nearly as many opportunities as them. But when he gets his opportunity, every time, he may be the most efficient player on the team. And what I mean when I say that is that small opportunities, but big moments. Big moments. Tylan Wallace always comes through. If he gets his hands on the ball, it's a catch. And like you mentioned, the yards after the catch as well. Tylan Wallace could get some yak too. I remember a couple years ago, maybe like 4 years ago, I remember we were talking about that. We were talking about how the Ravens, they need more yak guys. More yak players, more players that can make some stuff happen after the catch. And boy, oh boy, it's just a beautiful thing to see how far this Ravens offense has come in just such a short amount of time. But yeah, Tylan Wallace, like you mentioned, very underrated player. Very underrated player. He is buried on the depth chart. But then when you look at everybody in front of him, you're like, oh, okay, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing that he's buried on the depth chart, but it's nice to know that somebody like a Tylan Wallace, oh, that's your 4th or 5th receiver? Oh, him, Tylan Wallace? Oh, yeah, nice. That's a nice setup right there. Because, again, you got a Zay Flowers, you got a DeAndre Hopkins, Rashad Bateman as your 1, 2, 3. But then after that, whether it be Tez Walker, Tylan Wallace, I would think Tylan Wallace will be the 4, Tez Walker will be maybe 5, special teams and whatnot. And then, of course, Mark Andrews, again, could he stay? He could. We'll see. But Isaiah Likely, Charlie Cole. So all those guys are above Tylan Wallace on the depth chart in the pecking order. And then you got, of course, the run game with Derrick Henry and the pass game with Derrick Henry, too. The run game with Justice Hill, the pass game with Justice Hill, too. Then, of course, Lamar doing his thing. So it's a lot that's in front of Tylan Wallace. But it's nice to know that because when people have a lot of guys in front of them, they could mentally get checked out of the game. They could get cold, so to speak, because they're not getting no targets. They're not getting action like that. But it's nice to know with Tylan Wallace, you come in the game, the chemistry's there. You ain't got to worry about, Lamar throw to him. Oh, man, he getting ready to drop it because he ain't been having no catch. No, Tylan Wallace, reliable, ready, every single time. So this was a great re-signing by the Baltimore Ravens. Again, I was wondering like, oh, maybe he should go somewhere else so he could potentially get more opportunities, but he's sticking with the Baltimore Ravens for another year, and let's hope for the best for him. Next question came from my guy Ty. He said, hey brother, hope you're doing well. I've been stuck watching the combine clips over the past couple of days, and man, do we got some interesting talent hitting the draft this year. Obviously the Ravens have bigger needs than a wide receiver. We really have two bigger needs, at least in my eyes, that I think that's why we should focus at least one of these positions in free agency and hit the other one in the draft in the first round. Those being offensive line, check. Even with us getting Stanley back, those guard positions are sketchy to me. I think a lot of people would agree. And he said, and pass rusher. Falele got better in the second half of the year, but a lot of me wonders if that was less him improving and more Lamar just doing Lamar things and making the line look better than it really was. Well, yeah, that happens a lot with the Ravens offensive lines. Now they be doing their thing too, because Derrick Henry don't get 1,900 yards just for nothing. So yeah, but anyway, he said, and the left guard is still up for debate regardless with what Voorhees not being completely ready, and with Ben Cleveland, who knows who's gonna start. Anyway, he said offensive line combine happens, so we might have some potential prospects to check out for the late first round if free agency doesn't work out for that position. So far, it's been, I mean, they did bring Ben Cleveland back obviously, but it's been kind of quiet there, free agency at the guard position for the Baltimore Ravens. So I would think they would be thinking more draft, but we'll see. Anyway, he said, regardless of that, I went off on a bit of a tangent. I know you're going to be looking into some of these draft prospects yourself over the next few weeks, so I'm sure that you'll have a few guys catch your eye for us to talk about. That being said, I believe the Ravens should use their second round pick to draft a wide receiver. Now, that was before DeAndre Hopkins signing. He said, he said, regardless of how re-signs and free agency goes, given out of positions of needs, that is the perfect spot to get somebody out there. My personal favorite wide receiver that we could snag at that point is Iowa State wide receiver Jaden Higgins. Jaden is exactly what I think the Ravens should be looking for in a wide receiver. He's not going to be expected to go out there and drop 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns and be a certified stud. He's going to be out there to complete our wide receiver core and help open things up for Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, especially underneath, while being a good deep threat receiver himself to keeping opposing defenses honest. Now, that's somebody I had seen a lot of Ravens fans talk about before DeAndre Hopkins, because that was that big body, go up and get it type of receiver. And again, he would complement the Ravens so well. But anyway, he said physically, dude is a beast. He's 6'4" and about 215 pounds. And despite that size, he ran a sub 4.5 in the 40 time, which doesn't necessarily sound super speedy, which he isn't exactly. But given his size and what role he will be playing, that's still a really solid performance. If we need speed, that's what we got Zay for. He's got short hands, having a drop pass rate of only 3% over 350 targets. See, that's what I like to hear. I love that. If you got some hands, you can catch. Yeah. And I know that sounds so like cliche. Oh, wide receivers, they're supposed to be able to, but still, like, because we done had some drops over the years that. Continue. Anyway, he said he has great body control and a huge catch radius, having just shy of an 80-inch wingspan, and generally shows a good football IQ for finding soft spots in zone coverage and being good at settling in windows to set up QBs to look his way. We can always use more of that. The guys that we have, they can get open for sure. Well, we could always use more of that. And everything that you talked about, it just, I mean, you making me sound like the Ravens should still even take him, even with the DeAndre. Well, anyway, he said the best part is by far the fact that he's projected to go early in the third round of the draft and is currently the 11th ranked receiver prospect, meaning when we're on the clock in the second round, odds are quite high that he'll be there. See, yeah, but now, obviously, with the DeAndre Hopkins signing, I think that would change how the Baltimore Ravens look at it. But you never know, so you got Zay, Bate, D-Hop, Tez Walker, Tylan Wallace, and if they drafted him, that would be 6 wide receivers. You never know, because Anthony Miller's there too, but he most likely gonna be on a practice squad. Tez Walker still a sort of a project right now, and now he will be in his second year, so that'll help him a lot. So I don't know. And 6'4", that's a big boy right there. I know Ravens with taller receivers, it ain't worked out so far. But could he be the one? Because we got a new offense now. Things are different. So, I don't know, man. He said, all the information kind of made me feel like a salesperson, but I've been watching some of his film, and I think he's just such an incredible fit on our roster. And it isn't going to cost a lot since he's a second-round pick, and we don't have to give him a big contract or trade for him like we would somebody else in free agency. Said, we're going to get over this hump sooner or later. And as much as we thought last season was going to be it, oh, yeah, we did. Well, I know I did for sure. I was 1,000,000% confident. Oh, yeah, Ravens got. But yeah, he said, I'm not sure why, but I have a really good feeling about this upcoming season. Even though we haven't made any big offseason moves, at least as of me sending this in. Anyway, that's enough yapping for me. Have a great rest of your day, and let us know what you think. Hey, I appreciate you a lot, and I appreciate the thorough breakdown. Again, with DeAndre Hopkins, because he sent this before the DeAndre Hopkins move, but with the DeAndre Hopkins move, I would think that could change a lot. With DeAndre Hopkins and the Tylan Wallace move, too. That could change a lot on how the Baltimore Ravens look at wide receiver in the draft. But at the same time, hey, for second-round pick, would they use it on a receiver? I don't think so. I don't think so. But if he was there in like the third, maybe maybe one of the comp picks. If he dropped, it would just depend on how far he dropped. But I don't see the Ravens like really. All right, yeah, that's gonna be. He would just had to drop a lot, in my opinion, for the Ravens to select him. Next question came from my guy, Joe. He said, thoughts on these 3 players to draft? Check out these 3 players' game film and combine results and tell me what you think. He said, wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith from Auburn, running back DJ Giddens from K-State, and he said linebacker Eugene Asante. He was also from Auburn. Now, my favorite was the linebacker Eugene Asante, because I just envisioned him next to Roquan Smith, because I know there's been a lot of talk recently of C.J. Mosley. Oh, Ravens could get C.J. Mosley back, and they could. But I feel like somebody like Eugene Asante. Now, I don't think Ravens will put too much pressure on him to like start like that from jump. But just envisioning him next to Roquan Smith, because he's the opposite kind of linebacker of a Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith, great tackler, very, very smart, could diagnose the plays, all that, read the offense, all great. But with Roquan Smith, in my opinion, he's not the most explosive linebacker. But with Asante, he is very, very explosive. That man, he reminds me of somebody that we got on the team right now, that being Trent Simpson. And we'll see if Trent Simpson can have a redemption season. I don't know. But just the way that with Asante, the way that he just shoots, like when he's sure of who got the ball, shoots. Watching his confidence in his game, that was probably one of my favorite parts about it. Because with some players, I love how he was just, all right, I ain't hesitating. Oh, that's who got the ball. All right, I'm on it. This way the ball go. Okay, I'm on it. Just right away. And just thinking about him pairing with a Roquan Smith. Again, that's the thing that had been replaying in my mind when I was watching him. And I appreciate the suggestions, by the way. But that's what was replaying in my mind when I was watching him. Just thinking about him next to Agent Zero and how they could be just that I can't say the perfect combination, but they would be such a nice unit, such a nice duo. Sort of how I was hoping and thought and envisioned Malik Harrison and Patrick Queen being. Malik Harrison being that thumper, Patrick Queen being the explosive, the playmaker type linebacker. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. And then this is really just whoever ends up lining up next to Roquan Smith. Again, back to the C.J. Mosley thing. I feel like Roquan Smith and C.J. Mosley, their games, in my opinion, let me know if y'all feel differently, but I feel like their games are just so similar. The way that they play linebacker is just so similar. Both great tacklers, both extremely smart, but there's not really that explosiveness. They're not big-time explosive players. They'll make every tackle in the world. They'll be able to call out all that stuff. Extremely smart, but they're not explosive. I mean, the speed is not really there. Sideline to sideline, okay, cool, but that for them as blitzers, I think that would best be somebody else's game. Like, they'll obviously be sent in on blitzes every now and then, but I always feel better watching somebody else blitz other than a Roquan Smith or C.J. Mosley. But again, both excellent linebackers, but yeah, I just feel like somebody that could complement them better would be somebody like a Trent Simpson, who we got, but yeah, Eugene Asante would be my favorite out of those 3.